right, today looking at what assets are correlated to the U.S. dollar, because this was a popular topic that you were touching on with Paul the other day on the show. Just kind of where are we placed right now in the global climate, the global ecosystem, as to what is kind of dictating these U.S. dollar moves right now. What we just saw overnight, a lot of geopolitical risk in the Middle East, taking a strong bid against the U.S. dollar. So not getting a lot of U.S. dollar demand for that kind of safe haven appeal. But here, looking across asset classes, we've got a little correlation matrix for you.
I haven't looked at it, and I know that it's on the screen in front of me.
Yep.
But I'm not breaking eye contact.
No, you're not.
With you.
It was actually kind of freaking me out.
Yeah, very intense. I want to guess, what assets have you put up here? Because I want to see if I can get at least close to what the correlations are. Because I've run these numbers. Mm-hmm. I've been around this place, these companies and everything now for 10 years. I've run numbers like this so many freaking times and looked at so many of these matrices that I've got some numbers in the back of my head. Maybe you can call out a couple of the major assets. I'm sure we're looking at gold. Maybe we're looking at crude oil. And some of the currencies that we're looking at, or are we just looking at U.S. dollar?
We are looking at the major dollar pairs pitted against S&P 500, gold, crude oil, the 10-year note, and Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, okay. That's funny. All right. If I'm looking at the S&P 500, I'm going to say there's literally no correlation whatsoever in all of the pairs, and
3 months.
Maybe
this is a 3-month horizon.
Okay,
sorry.
I take back exactly what I just said. There's going to be an inherent positive correlation between U.S. dollar and S&P 500, and a negative correlation between S&P 500 prices, and especially Japanese yen or Swiss franc. How did I do?
Pretty good. Definitely against that Japanese yen and Swiss franc. The dollar has the strongest correlation.
Positive correlation S&Ps.
Correct.
Okay.
Gold.
This is a really tough one.
Yeah.
This one, I'm going to say there's an inherent negative correlation between gold and USD. And I'm going to say the strongest positive correlation between any currency and the gold market is yen.
Very close. Yen, the third most, but you've got the general trend overall. Over the past 3 months, we've seen gold skyrocket, U.S. dollar decline.
Not good for U.S. dollar.
Not good. So this is the strongest correlation on the board. British pound, U.S. dollar, strongest.
Sterling sounds like, is
sounds
sterling
like
some kind of metal?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Sterling silver.
Damn, they
God,
put it right there.
Right
Sometimes
there.
The universe puts it right in front of you. All right, what's
Crude
the next
oil.
asset? Crude oil.
Take them all.
This
all
market,
at once.
no one has been looking at, and by no one I mean myself, until like 2 days ago. It rallied like $10.
Oh, crude oil. Yep.
It's just been like, oh, it's $65 a barrel. Oh, it's 62 again. It's like boring.
Yep.
Gold is insane, and everything else is insane. Crude oil. I'm going to say there's a negative correlation to U.S. dollar in there that's inherent across the major pairs. And I'm going to say positive correlation between crude and like Aussie, maybe CAD, but like I'm going to say it's probably pretty low.
Right on the low correlation, very uncorrelated to most U.S. dollar pairs,
That would make sense.
but moving more positive correlation with U.S. dollar against the safe haven currencies of
Okay.
Swiss franc and Japanese yen. 10-year note.
10-year note.
10-year note.
I mean, the note's going to be pretty negatively correlated to USD. I have to imagine.
This is the surprise of the matrix to me. Very uncorrelated across the board.
All right, I'm going to look now.
Very well done.
Thanks.
Pretty good.
Yeah, Bitcoin, let's not even waste any time with that. I don't know why you put it up there. I think it's just because you own some crypto and you want
We're
everybody
looking
to
at
think about
asset
it.
classes. You can't argue that crypto is a major asset class at this point.
It doesn't surprise me that Bitcoin is especially correlated to dollar yen and dollar Swissy. Sure.
Yeah, the bond story.
And that makes sense that there's a negative correlation there between the 10-year note and dollar yen. And that makes sense. And
Much weaker than in recent.
If note prices go up, that's U.S. rates going down, everybody.
Correct.
And so U.S. dollar and U.S. rates tend to be positively correlated. So there's a negative correlation inherent between U.S. dollar and 10-year notes, which you see here across the board with the slight green correlations for Aussie euro and sterling, and the slight red correlations for dollar CAD, dollar Swissy, and then a little bit more for that dollar yen. Wow, pretty stark for gold.
That's what I mean.
Hell.
Yeah, and that's where you have to caveat. This is a 3-month horizon, and you take a step back. And
this might be the highest that I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
When you're looking at how positively correlated it is to pound and negatively correlated it is to U.S. dollar in that pound dollar pair, and how negatively correlated it is to the U.S. dollar in that dollar yen pair. Holy smokes. That's a big one. I know you have some more numbers, so let's run through them because we don't have any more time.
No, that's all right. Just touching on the gold, the main takeaway here, taking traditional commodity currencies here, the U.S. dollar pairs and the crosses, like Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, and pitting them against a lot of those popular commodities who broke out the metals market. And the headline here is kind of reassuring, is that you don't have to look farther into, you don't have to diversify further really than the US dollar gold story as of late. Copper, silver not showing any higher levels of correlation, and
pretty
those
green
crosses
across the board for Aussie or Kiwi, no matter what they're trading against, except if they're trading against each other, it looks like it's a wash.
Yeah.
But it's Aussie and Kiwi against pretty much any of the other major currencies, you're going to get that positive correlation to Chinese equities, to the commodities that you have up here as well. Wow.
Yep, and then you've got threw in the Chinese equity story as well. This one probably lower than you're expecting, but maybe subject to some of the trading hours.
I think that's pretty solid.
But there you go. You've got the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, giving you the purest exposure to Chinese equities over the U.S. dollar piece. A lot of pieces moving for the U.S. dollar.